An invocation offered by Commissioner Twine, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Lord, truly we thank you for your grace and mercy this day. We are seeking your wisdom and guidance as we transact the business of the city. These blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Cresser, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Here.
Mr. Brady?
Here.
Mr. Lockhart?
Here.
Mr. Murray?
Here.
Mr. Poole?
Here.
Ms. Twine?
Here.
Mr. Waddington?
Here.
Commissioners, we have before you the minutes of our meeting of May 10, 2017. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Waddington.
I move that we accept the minutes of the May 22nd meeting and dispense with the formal reading.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion? Without objection, the motion will be approved. And hearing no objection, the motion is approved. I want to advance one thing on the agenda tonight. And I would ask that Mrs. Bonner, if you are here, if you might come forward to accept a proclamation in honor of your dear husband. I have a copy, so I'm going to hand this to you while I present this to you. Tony Bonner was a very special man for the city of Sandusky, and he recently passed away. It's Joanne Bonner here, and we're honored to have you with us. It's a proclamation honoring and remembering Tony L. Bonner for his civic accomplishments and for being a loving and devoted son, brother, husband, father, grandfather, firefighter, and community servant. Whereas Tony was born in Lauderdale County, Mississippi in 1947, the oldest of 4 children, born to Bernice and Edgar Bonner Sr., and big brother to Patrick, Diane, B. Joyce, and Edgar Jr., and Joyce Brown, by the way, our own Joyce Brown. Whereas the Bonner family moved to Sandusky, Ohio in 1951, when Edgar Sr. relocated to work for the former Farrell Cheek Company, purchasing a home on Buchanan Street where Tony, his siblings, and friends in the South Side area enjoyed playing softball together and participating in hops at the Bonner family home, the center of dancing and celebrating life. And whereas Tony graduated from Sandusky High School in 1966 and spent 4 years training in the career of firefighting with the United States Air Force, and upon returning to Sandusky, Tony married his life partner, Joanne, and raised their 2 children together, Marcus and Amy. Is this Marcus who's with us?
No, that's Edgar's brother.
Oh, Tony, okay, I thank you for being here also, sir. And he was blessed with 1 beautiful granddaughter, Tatiana. And whereas Tony was appointed as the first African-American firefighter on the Sandusky Fire Department in 1971, was promoted twice during his career to retire as a fire captain after having served as a certified arson investigator, fire instructor, and emergency medical technician. And whereas recognizing the importance of minority hiring, Tony assisted the city of Sandusky to recruit minorities, and boy did he, in both the police and fire departments. And it is credited with the fire department hiring 9 African-American men, 3 white women, and 2 Hispanic men, and the police department hiring 6 African-American men, 2 white women, and 1 Hispanic man. And whereas Tony has been active and involved with the Progress Lodge number 85 Free and Accepted Masons, having served as past master and additionally with the Gordon C. Clemens Chapter Royal Archmasons, Ohio Grand Chapter Royal Archmasons, Bezaleel Consistory number 15, Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, El Hasa Temple number 28, Ancient Egyptian Arabic Orders Nobles of the Mystic Shrine, and Lakeview Chapter number 65, Order of the Eastern Star. And whereas Tony was also a member of Porter's Memorial CME Church, Secretary and Treasurer of the Sandusky NAACP, the city's Community Reinvestment Area Advisory Council, along with various other memberships and roles with civic organizations of the community. Therefore, the city of Sandusky recognizes and honors Tony L. Bonner on this 12th day of June 2017, and on behalf of the citizens of Sandusky, express to the family of Tony L. Bonner our deepest sympathy at the loss of such a great man. Thank you very much. Since we're a little out of order and taking a few minutes to recognize a couple of formalities and special things in the city tonight, I'd like to recognize Rick and Megan Hogerfee, who are here with us. We've heard so much about both of you in the media in recent days. Turns out you are actual live, real people. And it's so nice to have an opportunity to meet both. I know Megan has been here quite a bit, but this is my first opportunity to meet you tonight. And so we're very pleased that you're here. And I understand that you have something that you would like to present to the city. If you wouldn't mind doing so, that would be great.
Why don't we go? We can hold it if you want to say a few words, Rick, and then we'll take it up and do pictures at the end. If you want to say a few words at the podium.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity and also the opportunity to come back to my wonderful city. A lot of people ask me, why did we do this? And my answer usually is, why not? Where else would I go but back to this beautiful place? When I left Bayview, back when I went to college, I remember thinking I couldn't wait. I think a lot of us had that same feeling, those of us who left. I went around the world, went to a lot of different places, and everywhere I went, I kept thinking, my gosh, what a beautiful place I came from. What a wonderful people, how nice they were, how wonderful the town was, and the village of Bayview. So something wonderful happened to me. I'm a scientist, I'm not a developer, regardless of what you might have heard in the news or whatever. Nothing to do with that, but I had an opportunity to build a biotech company. I was lucky enough to sell it, and then we had this money and we had to do something good. Well, I'm too young to not do anything, and so we had to decide what was the best thing to do. Well, one thing led to the other. Truly, our investment in Sandusky started as really an accident. But every step of the way, we've been affirmed in what we've done. And every step of the way, we see more and more good things. Every time we come back, just how we're embraced by Eric and his team and everybody in the city. Oh, there's always going to be a few people who are going to be naysayers, of course. But that's okay. We're perfectly happy to accept that and to keep going forward and just keep doing what we're doing. And our goal is to help you guys rebuild the city. Our city, my city. Okay, this is my city, and that's one thing you have to understand. It's becoming Megan's city, too. She's very, very quickly becoming a Sanduskian, despite her early thoughts of going back into the winter. But this is a wonderful place, and here we are in the summer, so now she gets to see this at its best.
The first time.
And this donation is really just a continuation of us trying to say, well, we're not just doing this really for ourselves. Money is not an object, truly. This is really to rebuild and to do something. My whole career has been about doing good for man, trying to save lives through my science. Well, now I have an opportunity to maybe do something different and maybe help a city that's so special to me become something different. What you've already started. I'm not the start. Oh my goodness, no. We're like the third or fourth wave in this thing, but we're continuing and we can see it coming behind us. And from what we're understanding and hearing, every step along this wave, people are starting to accept more and understand that this is where we have to go. It's not to become something different. It's to become what we were. I remember Sandusky way back. I worked at Frisch's Big Boy downtown. We had the Big Boy down here on Wayne Street, and when that disappeared, they moved me off to Port Clinton to work at the Frisch's over there. It was different, but that moment was maybe the last meaningful business. Okay, we lost a number of them since then, but to me, when that Big Boy left that corner on Wayne Street, something significant did change in Sandusky. And it took a long time, 10, 20 years, I think, for it to come completely back. But it's there. Okay, we have major plans. We're meeting with the architects and just tomorrow, starting tomorrow, to start the redesign and rebuilding of Cook. We're not developers, we're restorers. We're going to restore the best we can what was there. And yes, make it nicer because, well, some of those windows are kind of old. They need to get replaced. But really, we want the look, we want everything to be the way it was. And also to bring back jobs and yes, business, because that's what it takes to have a beautiful city. And so that's what we want to do. And so this donation is really just a part of that to help the city continue to pay to do things that are good for everybody. I'm not going to please everybody, of course, but I hope that most people will see that there's something positive that's being done with this money and with everything else that everybody's doing, including this room. We're really grateful for all the embracement. Thank you so much.
McKinsey's going to want to see you over there. Anybody else want to stand up?
Commissioner, do you want to stand in the, get in?
Why not?
Please, please.
Maybe gather above and
Scooch over here.
Yeah. I can't block anybody, it's not possible.
Love that money.
All right, Dave, I can't see.
That's okay.
He didn't come. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll cash that tomorrow morning.
For the record, we do need to make a motion to accept this generous contribution, and I understand that the check that you're presenting comes with no strings attached, except that it somehow be applied to the Jackson Street Pier. And with that and with our thanks, I would ask for a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion, second discussion.
Thank you.
Without objection, the motion be approved. Hearing no objection, the motion is approved with our great thanks. And so welcome to Sandusky. Yes. Why don't we turn now to audience participation, and then Ms. Shepherd, your cue will be after that. Thank you. Anyone wishing to address any of the regular agenda items, the endless agenda items tonight?
Sharon Johnson, 1139 Fifth Street. I have a few things here to address. There's a change order on the 2016 sidewalk repair. It's a whopper of a change order, $104,000, $680,000. I'd like to have an explanation of this, how this happened. The next one is the liquor permit for the Camp Street. I'm not sure, but I thought I read something where the city inspector stated that this building should be condemned, and I don't know how we can give a liquor permit to a building that's being condemned, if somebody could explain that. And the third thing is partial lifting of the moratorium for the medical marijuana cultivation. I'm not for this. I think this is another step towards legalizing this for the state of Ohio. You give one step in and then the rest of it starts to unravel. If we're calling this economic development, that's poor, that we have to balance some of these kids who are overdosing on drugs, and we have to call this economic development. I don't think so. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Anyone else wishing to address the commission on our agenda items tonight? If not, then we have a presentation from Roz Shepherd of the Sandusky City Schools and the Great Lakes Visual and Performing Arts Academy. And Ms. Shepherd, welcome.
First of all, I'd like to thank you all for this honor of addressing you this evening. Wanted to let you all know that everything that you are doing for our city is well appreciated, and the opportunity to let you know that what we're doing in Sandusky City Schools is, like I said, an honor. So I wanted to start out with introducing myself. My name is Rosalind Shepherd. I am the chair of planning for the Great Lakes Visual and Performing Arts Academy at Sandusky High School. I've been a teacher in Sandusky for 20 years now, and have been blessed to be able to teach art in the elementary level as well as the middle school. But over the last 2 years, I've been working hard to put together a program from scratch on something that's, I think, vital for our kids, and that's the arts. I know that through some of the meetings I've been to for the city, that you value arts and culture here in Sandusky. So this is something that I hope will be a beginning of something great for not only the kids, but for those who are here in the district, in the city, in our community, to make this something that's going to really stand out, especially with the bicentennial coming up. So I did want to show you a quick video that was put together for our academy to let you know that we are working hard and doing some wonderful things.
I believe in each and every one of you. There's something great inside of all of you. I've seen it. And this is your chance to be great. So that's what you do. You be great. And you go out there and have fun, you create memories, and create something that will last you the rest of your life. And this is something you'll always remember. The friendships you make here, the times you spend together, the lessons you learn, the performances and how you are able to express who you are. So have fun.
I sure look up to her.
Put a smile on your face and cherish everything you have right now. Go out there, enjoy yourselves, and be great.
So this was our first attempt at a video to represent what we are trying to do in our high school. The Arts Academy starts at 9th grade and it goes through 12th grade. We have also incorporated things that aren't in other areas of Sandusky, Erie County. There's nothing like it anywhere around where we incorporate dance and theater into our curriculum. So not only do we have visual art, instrumental, vocal, but we also have dance and theater now as part of our curriculum. Our students are able to take classes. Any kid in the school can take classes, but to be a part of the Arts Academy, they have to audition. We just had our auditions back in April, and these were very well attended. We had some wonderful candidates. We brought in 20 new students. We currently have now 39 students in the academy. Our kids are from all walks of life. We have the ability to now help those students not only to grow in the arts, but to find their pathway and make it something so that they can be proud of, as they get ready to go to college. So what we would like for our kids to have, and through that comes a lot of opportunities. So I'm going to kind of go through a little quick PowerPoint, and then through this you can kind of see where we are. Okay, so we have 2 years that we've been doing this. And during that time, we had over 24 workshops and seminars, field trips, conferences, master classes. 9, GLVPAA is Great Lakes Visual Performing Arts Academy. We've heard so many times that it's so long, so this is our acronym. Sponsored performances and showcases, events for students' talents. 6 new art courses offered at the high school, offering opportunities for elementary and middle school students to be involved also. And this is something that's becoming not only a special thing for our high school students, but when we have showcases and performances, we invite the elementary kids to come up and perform also. Our students are learning so much about their chosen profession and experiencing education like never before. So these are some images of our Summer Arts Seminar. That is something that's going to be coming up in July. Hopefully you all will be able to come out, bring your kids, bring your grandkids. We're going to have another performance this year. This is Aladdin and his wonderful magical lamp. It's a 2-week camp that we have where we incorporate teamwork, experiences. A lot of the video that you saw earlier was from our last musical, which was called Mirror Image. So our kids really enjoy that. We have opportunities for the students to perform. Our First Friday events were every first Friday last year during November through May. We had students come out, community members come out and interact with our kids. It's kind of like a project-based learning where the kids actually interact do what they're doing as far as like workshops. They've done their plays, and then people would come and talk to them about what they've done. So the kids get a chance to perform, but not only perform, but let people know how they feel about what they're doing. Opportunities to sing. We have some wonderful singers. I don't know if anybody has ever heard Dacia Villarreal. She has done the national anthem for us several times. Beautiful voice. A lot of our kids are learning to get stronger with their voices. They all have voice lessons that we provide for them. The successes of our school district is known to everyone around town because our a cappella choir, our keynotes, bell choir come into the community and do a lot of performances. These are from our showcases, our fundraisers that we put on. This year, we're going to do a really big one. So hopefully, you all will be looking out for that. It's called Festival of Wreaths. We will be having a whole week of interactions where we'll have organizations and maybe even the commission would like to do a wreath and decorate it so that we can have it put up. And after we have all these wreaths up around the city, we'll have performances going on around the city, and then those wreaths will be auctioned off to help us fundraise for the academy. We also have opportunities for performance in music, art, instrumental. Our showcase, we were able to offer kids the opportunity to show what they can do. They haven't had that chance, much. And a lot of our kids in our district don't have the opportunity to go through dance studios, don't have the money to do a lot of the things that a lot of other kids have to. So this gives them an opportunity to showcase what they can do. Here again, some of our young kids participated. We have a hip hop dance club at middle school. Our elementary honors choirs were wonderful, came out and we supported them. These were some of our first Friday events that we had where we invited the community to come out and take part in some of the things that we were doing. So visual art is a big thing. I'm a visual artist myself, so I enjoy having so many different opportunities at the high school, 25 different courses in visual arts that students can take. These are things that we would love for when people come to your city and say, hey, how's your schools? What's going on there? These are some of the things that we've got going on that a lot of other schools don't have. Our art program is huge, and we had 2 students who went on to Scholastics Nationals for Scholastics with their artwork. Some of the field trips that we've been able to do, take kids to different performances, Cleveland area, Columbus. Now we have a yearly college tour that we set up for our kids to be able to go see different arts programs all around Ohio and hopefully around the nation as we get further into our being able to be a stronger program. Some of the conferences, we've brought people in for the kids to talk to and to meet, to do master classes with them. This was Playhouse Square. They've did several opportunities for workshops and things with that. So it was wonderful. The kids never got these kinds of experiences. And this is the whole thing is opportunity. Everything that we do, and I love everything that gentleman said when he came up here, because Sandusky is a place, and I'm not from here, but it's my heart now. And I'm telling you, everything that we do for the kids. And when they can see that other people are doing this and I can do this too, it just brings out that special part of them that makes them think I can do anything. We had Peter Scalar, who is a talent agent, come and do a workshop with our kids. We have 7 students that were selected to go to New York, and actually they're going to be going at the beginning of August to one of his workshops where he's got Broadway directors, producers who are going to be working with our kids on some wonderful activities, workshops. We were able to be in the commercial for Ohio Tourism. So when you see Ohio Tourism and you see the roller coaster going down, our kids are in back. It was raining like crazy that day. I don't know how they got the rain out of the picture, but it looks like it was a sunny day. But did you know that students who study art are 4 times more likely to be recognized for academic achievement and 3 times more likely to be awarded for school attendance? Art and music education programs are mandatory in countries that rank consistent among the highest math and science tests, scoring like Japan, Hungary, and the Netherlands. They're doing it everywhere. Everyone knows that STEAM is not STEM anymore. It's not science, technology, engineering, and math. Art is in there. And the arts are a big part of what's going to make this not only Sandusky greater, but also the city of Sandusky. And as we get into more of what we're doing and trying to be more of a positive force in the area with our school district, the arts is going to be a big part of that. So thank you very much for your time. Any questions at all?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Wantington.
I've known you a long time.
Yes.
I love your passion.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Wine.
I've known you a long time also, and I know that your heart is with the students of this community. So appreciate and thank you for everything that you're doing and the creativity that you have to bring these new programs. Like you said, we're trying to make Sandusky the destination place for people to come and bring their families and build their lives here. So what you're doing at Sandusky City Schools just enhances that. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman. Ms. Shepherd, just to let you know, you're definitely making a difference. I happened to be in an interview this morning with a mom of 2 of your students, and she moved from Akron 4 years ago, and she said I was a little iffy coming to Sandusky, but the schools have made all the difference in the world, and she specifically mentioned your program, and it has made a tremendous difference in her 2 daughters' lives. So thank you.
Hear that. Thank you.
Thank you. We've had a series of presentations, and this one was the best yet from the Sandusky City Schools. And it's so important that you and your colleagues come here and highlight the good work that's occurring in the Sandusky City Schools and why it is that they're so special and why it is that you have things, that we have things to offer our students and our families that no one else in the area has. So I like the way that you proudly distinguish the Sandusky City Schools and what you can offer and that no one else can. That's incredibly important long-term to the quality of life in Sandusky, and I really want to thank you again for being here tonight.
Thank you very much.
Chairman,
Spool.
just one last thing. Looking forward to your first Tony Award winner.
That's right. That's right. Dacia did audition for America's Got Talent also. So she didn't make it on, but she did a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioners, we have a number of communications from staff suggesting various pieces of legislation and resolutions. Does someone care to make a motion to accept those?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a motion, second discussion. Without objection, the motion will be approved. Hearing no objection, the motion is approved. We turn now to our consent agenda, which is longer tonight because of all the business that we have. Is there anyone who cares to remove something from the consent agenda?
Sure.
Mr. Brady.
I would request that item M be removed from the consent agendas. I would like to hear our law director speak on that issue.
Okay, item M is removed. Any others? Then does someone care to make a motion to proceed with our consent agenda items?
First. Ms. Cresser first.
So moved. Sorry?
Ms. Cresser first.
I think someone has to make the motion first, and then she presents them. Right?
Yeah.
Waddington, do you have the magical incantation there?
All right, Mr. Chairman. Doing the,
I was looking for somebody who had it. Yeah, go ahead, please. Oh, do you
got
have
it?
it? Mr. Wayne, you have it?
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L as presented to the city commission under consent agenda items and shall take effect in accordance with section reflected in the ordinances or resolutions, whether it be in accordance with section 13 or section 14.
Second.
Thank you.
Then a motion and second. Mrs. Cresser, would you present the items on the consent agenda?
Yes, and I apologize, they're not on the screen at the moment.
Okay.
But Nelson went to get the disc, so I will read them. Items A and B are both purchase and sale agreements for property at 219 Arthur Street and 1426 Lindsley Street. Item C is accepting 6 parcels into the city's land reutilization program. Item D is authorizing requests for proposals for property located at 1313 Huntington Avenue in the city's land utilization program. Item E is authorization to rebid the Sloan Street manhole replacement and slip lining project. Item F is authorization to purchase a Lucas 3.0 chest compression system with grant funds from the Sam S. Stein and Rose Stein Foundation. Item G is an addendum to a transportation services agreement with Erie County Job and Family Services for the Sandusky Transit System. Item H is the commission providing consent to a submerged lands lease for property located at 1907 Cedar Point Road. Item I is an easement agreement for drainage on Venice Park. Item J is an easement agreement for storm sewer on Pinewood Condominium Building Number 2. Item K is also an easement agreement for stormwater on Pinewood Condominium Building Number 4. And item L is change order number 2 and final change order with Precision Paving for the 5th Street reconstruction project.
Commissioners, having heard all of these items in the communication and having already had a motion and second by, we had a motion, do we have a second as well? Yes, we did. Discussion on any of these items. Mrs. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the first on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
And now on the ordinances and resolutions.
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Those ordinances and resolutions are approved. Mrs. Cresser, do you now present, what is it, item M?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That would be a request for the commission clerk to notify the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. The city does request a hearing regarding the request for a new C1 liquor permit, C1 and C2 liquor permit for Deb's Carryout and Delivery LLC, 1819 Camp Street, Unit 2. And I believe Mr. Harris would have information on this.
Okay, but it's been presented. Is there a motion to make this communication? We still need to do that part. So so Ms. Cresser has presented this item, but we need a motion to authorize her to tell the Ohio Division of Security, or the Ohio Division of Liquor Control that the city does
Require
require a hearing in this instance.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Brady.
I make that motion that we advise Commissioner Clerk Kelly Cresser to advise the Board of Liquor Control that the city of Sandusky does require a hearing on this property.
Second.
There's been a motion and second. Discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Lockhart.
I'd like to hear from the Law Director, Justin Harris, as to his feelings on this.
I was doing it.
Mr. Harris?
Through you, Commissioner President, to the Commissioner and Commissioner Lockhart. Normally, the folks at home who probably see these on our agenda, it's usually on a consent agenda. And what normally happens is the city doesn't request a hearing. And the specific reasons for those, at least in my experience being here a year and 2 months, is that normally there's an email sent to police, fire, law, building to see if there's any issues that they have specifically with that location and the granting of that permit. And 99.9% of the time, there hasn't been any issues, so we don't request a hearing. The Ohio Division of Liquor Control, however, doesn't have an ear to the ground at every local municipality across the state, so they want our input. In this instance, when we reach out to building, our CBO, George Polis, provided us with a report that believes that this specific property is unfit and uninhabitable. And for that reason, we request a hearing simply to notify the Ohio Division of Liquor Control the city's stance on that actual location. And then the Ohio Division of Liquor Control will make their own judgment, again, based upon their input from the city, but it's still going to be their own decision. But they don't have people in every location, so they can't go and look at all the buildings. It's more of a time and energy and use of resources. That's why they reach out to us to request a hearing or not request a hearing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harris. Questions or comments, commissioners?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Cool.
I've been here about 6 years. and we've never received a report whatsoever from the building department. I recognize that in the past, as long as I've been here, as long as I can recall, the city's response to this in terms of to the liquor board dealt with whether or not the zoning was appropriate, whether or not the police had any problems, and I assume it deals with whether or not they'd had a lot of calls there that create an issue, and likewise from the fire department. It's the first time I've ever seen anything from the building department. I'm having an issue since I realized that the Board of Liquor Control does its own building inspections. It's in their rules that they do that. And whether they do it or not, I'm not personally sure, but I read what the application requires. And I have an issue with this microscope on this particular business. If there's a problem with this building in terms of it being, no one has yet said that it is, if we have an issue with the building, it should have been taken care of by the building department before now. It has little to do with whether or not they can sell beer or wine. If the city's building inspector chooses to not give an occupancy permit, that's fine. But to use this, which is to me unprecedented, as a way to get at this building through their liquor permit is a problem. We have given truckloads of money to businesses all over this community to bring buildings up to standard. Now, this particular instance, in this neighborhood on the south side, that store, if it opens, represents these folks not having to walk all the way to Kroger's or what have you to get things. It's needed. And if they can't get an occupancy permit, then that's fine. But I would suggest that them not getting a permit to sell beer cancels any ability for them to make any money, to make the improvements needed to bring the building up to standard. And I might also add that if you read what was written by the building inspector, he indicated that he saw that the area where the groceries and this was going to be sold was capable of being brought up to standard. And the issues with the rest of the building, which have nothing to do with the liquor permit, or if it does, the Liquor Control Board can decide that. I object to the city using this method to cancel out a business that they don't do anyplace else in town. I've not seen this level of using the building inspector to do this for anyone else. We have bent over backwards and give truckloads of money, and if folks disagree with me, that's fine. We can talk about it, and I'll get into specifics about assessing why I think you did it. That's all.
Further questions or comments? Mr. Harris, and perhaps Ms. Byington, this is a question, or Mr. Lasko, I'm not sure who I should be directing this question to. But first, I would note that Mr. Paulus, our chief building official, has indicated that the grocery store is still not up to snuff, and he says 40 to 45% beyond its useful life. So I'm not sure that Mr. Poole and I share the same characterization of what the report had indicated. But I do want to make sure that we're not doing anything out of the ordinary here. It is my understanding that we usually check with the building department or code enforcement, or, there's always a report along those lines. It's so routine, I don't focus on it. Can you address that, Mr. Harris?
Through you, Commissioner President, to the commission, that is true. Although there may, in Commissioner Poole's recent memory, know this might be uncharted territory for him. This is the first time that a building has submitted an application for a liquor permit that's, as George Post indicated, 40 to 45% beyond its useful life, and also there's also a portion that's 70% beyond its useful life and also condemned. Now, there's two ways you can look at it from a more practical standpoint. We could turn a blind eye and say, I think this building should be condemned, but let's wait to see if the Ohio Department of Liquor Control condemns it, which I think we would be doing a disservice to our citizens. they are part and parcel separate issues. One is a building should be condemned irrespective. All we're doing is notifying the Ohio Liquor Control what the city plans on doing, irrespective of what their decision is. And by no stretch of the imagination does a request for a hearing automatically doom this applicant of receiving a liquor permit. All we're saying is we're going to condemn this property, and it does two things, or one, mostly it buys, it doesn't buy, but it also holds the owner's feet to the fire to, again, as Georgia Post says, bring this building up to standards instead of appealing it and filing lawsuits and dragging this out for like 13 months. The liquor control hearing is going to be shorter than a traditional hearing, and what's going to happen is if they truly want to bring a business that utilizes a liquor permit, they'll bring the building up to par by the time the hearing is held.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Further questions or comments? If not, then Mrs. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
No.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
No.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That motion passes. Mrs. Cresser, would you present item number, oh, let's see, hold on a second. On item number 1, this is the drone legislation. Commissioners, I would like to have get some direction from you. I understand there's some concerns about the drone legislation as written, and the state is looking at some legislation, though it's not as broad. State legislation only looks at proximity to airports. And so I think that either the states or the municipalities or maybe the federal government will get involved in this at some point. But I do think that some regulation is necessary so that, you know, people aren't getting hit by drones on roller coasters at Cedar Point, so they're not peering into our homes at night. And I do think that this is critical, but perhaps this issue needs to percolate a little bit more. And Mr. Waddington was the original proponent of the legislation, is fine with taking it off of the agenda for a little while. I'll think about it some more. And unless there's an objection to that, I'm going to remove that from the agenda tonight. Okay. Then,
Who are we moving?
what's that?
Okay.
The drone legislation. Just, we'll think about that some more. Okay, Mr. Waddington?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Ms. Cressy, would you present item number 2 then, please?
Yes, item 2 is a resolution amending Resolution 038-16R, passed on August 22nd, 2016, to lift the temporary moratorium on medical marijuana cultivation and processing, but retain the temporary moratorium for retail dispensary facilities, and declaring that this resolution shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Lloyd?
I move for the adoption of this resolution under the suspension of the rules and in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion, second discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Lockhart?
this is as it's written, it's a partial repeal of a moratorium. Initially, when we put the moratorium on, I suggested that we not have a moratorium. Here we are doing a partial removal of it. And so I think it's best to, instead of to rehash, that we just, so I guess I move to make an amendment that we just have a complete repeal rather than a partial repeal, so that things are taken care of now rather than kicked down the road.
Second.
There's a motion and second discussion on the amendment.
Mr. Chairman,
Cool.
I agree that there's no reason to do this partially, and I support just removing it and start over. The state covers this well. The existing law indicates that we have full control over how many, if any of this occurs in our community, and adding workload to the staff to come up with additional regulations is unnecessary. So I support the amendment.
Further discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Waddington?
I looked at this, researched it a little bit too, and I'm sure we've all had loved ones or friends suffering, and this isn't going down to the corner and buying a marijuana cigarette. It's in pill form, and I'm fine with it. It's just another tool for someone, if you're dying and it gives you some relief, I have no problem with it. You know, maybe a year ago I'd have thought different, but you lose a few friends or family members and that through, you see them suffer, and this could give them some relief. So that's why I changed my thinking and process on this. Just want to let that know.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Twine.
I will support the amendment. I've done a lot of thinking about this. I think when I initially voted to put on the moratorium, my line of thinking was that this was more of recreational marijuana. After getting some information, some education, looking at this is more medical marijuana for people that have different types of health issues. I think a lot of it is still exploratory. They're still getting information on that. But I think owing those people that have health issues the opportunities to seek medical relief, I will support this amendment.
Further questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Lloyd.
after being in the health industry for over 20 years, looking at this, it's hard to understand why we would cultivate and process but not dispense it to our locals. So it just makes sense to support this amendment.
Mr. Lockhart.
Mr. Chairman, I don't look at this as a business deal per se. The data shows that having medicinal marijuana reduces the number of opiate deaths in each state that it's been approved in. And so I think, me supporting doing something about the opiate epidemic here in our city and county, as well as Commissioner Waddington and Commissioner Brady, and I'm sure all the other commissioners here, this is going to go a long step towards reducing the number of occurrences for opiate deaths, because the physicians can then prescribe medicinal marijuana versus some of the other hard narcotics, which are addictive, as we know. And so also the state is regulating these laws. We are simply trying to regulate what happens in our community here, which, eventually it's going to be an eventuality that we have to face anyway. So I look at it very, very hardly and thought about it long and hard too. And I think it's the best step that we can take as far as helping the opiate epidemic.
I support the amendment because, first of all, let's back up just a little bit. We put a moratorium in place so that we had a period of time to wait to see how the state was going to implement this process. And we did, as a state, come to a conclusion that medical marijuana is illegal. Now, it is true that for many of us of a certain age, marijuana just equals bad. But we don't think of acetaminophen as being bad. And we don't think of aspirin as being bad. Those are painkillers. This is a very efficacious drug, painkiller for some people who need it. And I think we as a community have moved beyond stigmatizing it. This isn't going to legalize smoking it. I would not support legalized marijuana for recreational use. I just don't. I don't now, and I don't think I ever would. But I don't see this as opening the door to that. As Commissioner Lockhart indicated, this is going to be controlled by the state, and I think with those limitations on it, that's fine. Staff came to us with this legislation because there are folks who are interested in cultivating here. No one is interested in selling or dispensing at this point in time, but staff took the appropriate step of the smallest change that was necessary to the zoning laws in order to be able to accommodate a potential cultivation facility, but I think it's appropriate for the commission to go a little bit further and authorize dispensation as well.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Brady.
You all make excellent points, and I took a little more convincing perhaps than most of you did on this issue. But I'm resolved now to the fact that I'm convinced now that this is not a gateway. It's not a gateway drug into harder drugs, and I would certainly not deny a major pharmaceutical company coming into the city limits and building a plant to turn out a pharmaceutical product any more than I would vote against a medical marijuana cultivation and hopefully someday processing plant in our city. That creates jobs, that can help the sick, and I think that's reasons enough to support that.
Further discussion? Mrs. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
The motion to amend becomes part of the legislation. Further discussion on the, I guess, the resolution. If not, Mrs. Cresser, then would you poll the commissioners on the motion associated with the resolution itself?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Now on the resolution?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That resolution is adopted. Mrs. Cresser, you thought I was tricking you by calling it for 3 votes,
Third roll call, yeah.
but Mr. Harris was paying attention and he knew we still had to deal with the motion. to amend. Would you present item number 3, please?
I'm new with this.
Justin's keeping you on your toes.
We just woke up Mr. Harris. But it's okay.
Item 3 is a resolution declaring the necessity for the city to proceed with the proposed Venice Heights Boulevard reconstruction project, approving the specifications and engineer's estimate of cost thereof, and directing the city manager to advertise for and receive bids in relation thereof, and directing the city manager to, and declaring that this resolution shall take immediate effect in accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Waddington.
I move for the adoption of this resolution on the suspension of the rules in full accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
And a motion, discussion.
Chairman,
Brady.
I'd ask Mr. Klein to give us a brief overview of what we're doing here. This has been a long time coming, and it's going to please, hopefully it will please a lot of residents. West End of Sandusky.
Through you, Mr. President, to the commission. This is a complete reconstruction of Venice Heights Boulevard right in front of the school. This will be, we're going to be tearing out all of the concrete and we're going to be replacing it with asphalt and some curb and gutter, similar to what we did on Caldwell. The far west end of the project, which is not as bad, will just be some concrete repairs and concrete replacement, some patch repairs in that area. We will also be installing a parallel culvert on the west end, and this will take some of the flow, some of the flooding off of the Venice Park property. It'll also accommodate some of the flooding that happens on the Pinewood Estates property, and that's what the 3 easements were for in the consent agenda. One of the things that I'd like to actually bring up about this project is we're doing something that we haven't done before, and that we are going to be implementing a pulverization type project. So instead of pulling out all the concrete, hauling in stone, placing the stone, compacting the stone, talked to some friends at the Turnpike and some other people in the business, and one of the things that we will be doing on this project is pulverizing that concrete in place, and we're going to be saving the money on hauling the stone out and bringing new stone in. So we'll take the concrete, we'll pulverize it, we'll haul out some of it so we can meet our grades, we'll compact it, and then we will have a new base rather than paying for a new base. We'll just do it all right in place. So it's even environmentally friendly, and we're estimating that pulverization process could save us, being that it's the first one, we're being conservative, but estimates are that it could save us somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 to $150,000 just by doing that in place. So this project will be completed in 2017, and we were trying to get it bid out early in the year so we could do it during the construction and it wouldn't interfere with school, but those easements took a little bit longer than we expected. So we will obviously work closely with the school and make sure that we're making the accommodations for them that they need.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Questions or comments, commissioners? I know this was a long time coming, and I thank you for your diligence in working with the Pinewood condominium owners and residents. And I want to thank publicly all of those folks for their patience and for the thoughtful way that they engaged with the city throughout this process. Very difficult for them, very stressful for them, but they have been really great citizens in terms of remaining engaged, suggesting ideas, recognizing that part of this cost should be theirs, and it's been been really good to see that process. And it's finally time to eliminate the West Side roller coaster. So that road will not be missed in its present form. Further questions or comments? Mrs. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
And on the resolution?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That resolution is adopted. Item number 4, please.
Item 4 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a contract with Shermer Construction LLC of North Olmsted, Ohio for the Columbus Avenue Underpass Repair Project and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Twine?
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules in full accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
On a motion and second, discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Brady?
Mr. Klein, you and I had a pretty good discussion about this today, but I would like you to share with us exactly what's going on here, and if you would share with us a timeline of when this is going to be accomplished, and perhaps how long it's been since we spent a dime in that subway.
Through Mr. President to the Commission, this subway, this underpass was originally completed with the repairs in 1999, and we've done little to no improvements or maintenance on that. We've done some minor things, but nothing of significance. So what we're planning on doing with this project is we're going to be doing the surface repairs. There's some concrete that's falling. You'll see the cones and barricades out there for people to avoid, especially the east side of the underpass. We'll be doing some sidewalk repairs. The big thing that's going to happen, though, is the pressure washing. The contractor will pressure wash the entire thing and then go through with a sealer. They'll seal the cracks, and then they'll seal all the concrete throughout the entire underpass. One of the things that I know we'll probably get questions on is why we are not doing anything to the actual rail structure, the steel, which is rusting and is needed. We're not allowed by railroad standards unless we spend hundreds upon hundreds of thousands to do the appropriate painting of their structure. So this project is taking care of the city's maintenance and responsibilities, making sure that the water that's pushing through, that we keep it back and it doesn't cause further deterioration. One of the points that I would like to make as well is when it's said and done, the color we're going to get is close to matching to the existing off-white color, so you shouldn't see black streaks. It's not the same stuff that we use on pavement. It'll be a whitish color that'll be out there, so it should be pretty much just white walls that you're seeing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Klein. Questions or comments, Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, just in general with maintenance, going forward, is there annual, semi-annual maintenance that now that we have money that we'll need to be doing? Or is it cheaper to just let it go and 15 years later fix it?
Mr. President,
Which costs you
Commissioner
more?
Poole, I would say that it's rarely cheaper to let it go and do a major repair. One of the things that we did as part of this project when Ari Warner was designing it was we had them develop a maintenance plan for Hayes Avenue, Columbus Avenue, and Camp Street underpasses. So those are things that on an annual basis we'll be engaging with public services and the street department to make sure that whatever ongoing maintenance items that we can do in-house, we will do in-house as we move forward.
Thank you.
Mr. Klein. Further questions or comments? Ms. Cresser, would you poll the Commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 5, please, Mrs. Cresser.
Item 5 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to approve the first and final change order for work performed by Smith Paving and Excavating Incorporated of Norwalk, Ohio for the 2016 sidewalk repair and replacement project in the amount of $124,608.27 and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Lloyd.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules and in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
And a motion and second. Discussion. Mr. Klein, as Ricky would say, Lucy, you got some explaining to do. But after having reviewed your communication in detail and caught up with a couple others about some of the details, you've got a great answer. But I think the public really, and the commissioners really need to hear from you because this is unusual, and we'd like to hear about it.
Mr. President, and to the commission, this is something that, when I saw where the numbers were coming in, it was something that we did some deep searching to try to figure out where and why and how we could change it. So what I'd like to do first off is go through the things that we are going to change next year with this, and through that I will explain why it happened this year and how we're going to address it in this year 2017 project. First and foremost, the biggest thing that happened was the increases in the concrete. Now, we did end up doing around 360 addresses throughout the city, broken out throughout the city. I mean, there's a lot out there, and it was individual slabs here and there. So one of the issues that we had was that when we went out last year, we only had a couple weeks to put this project together. And when we're talking 300 and some properties, we couldn't take lasers, we couldn't survey, we couldn't figure out the elevations. So what we did is we saw all the sidewalks at the complaint areas that were heaving, and we said we were going to replace those slabs. When we get into the construction of it, the contractor's required to meet ADA requirements, which means if a property settled too much, if the sidewalk settled too much, and we took out those two slabs, we couldn't leave a lip in there, obviously. We couldn't leave it in worse repair than what it came from. The other thing is with the ponding water, there were times when the grass areas were higher. So when we take out those two slabs, we realized we had to then go back another 3, 4, 5, and in one case there were even 7 additional slabs that we had to take out. So the quantities of concrete escalated just to meet that ponding, the non-ponding, and the ADA requirements. We did end up adding an additional 14,000 square feet of concrete, which comes out to about 3,500 linear feet. The other thing that we did, or one of the other things, was the seeding and fertilizing. That was something that we had a quantity in there, and we assumed a certain amount for each tree and a certain amount for each sidewalk. But it turned out when they removed some of the trees that they had to keep digging up some roots and keep going to make sure that they were accounting for everything that was causing the problems with the sidewalk that we may not have been able to have seen at the surface. So one of the things that we are doing this year is we are going to make sure that we include all the seeding, fertilizing, and mulching as incidental. This means that the contractor won't remove more than is needed, and we won't pay on what's not needed to be removed. So when all the concrete's coming out, he's going to do as minimal disturbance to the personal property as he can. Same thing with the trees. He's not just going to keep grinding to get more cost and more money for that seeding and fertilizing, so it's all going to be incidental. That'll cause the concrete price to slightly go up, but with the competitive bidding process, it should keep the prices relatively in check. Next, we updated the specification. There were a few minor tweaks that we made throughout the specification, a lot with the seeding and fertilizing, and then some other things with the sizes of trees with removal. And one thing that we did as well with the flexibility in the neighborhood, we knew that we had some contingency on the project. And when we got into a neighborhood, we may have had 4 or 5 addresses that we were going to account for. We were going to do the repairs. Well, the neighbors came out and said, hey, can you do mine? Can you do mine? Can you do mine? Well, those those individual slabs add up rather quickly, and we were trying to accommodate and do what the residents wanted in those neighborhoods to make a nice walkable path. Then we missed some in some of the neighborhoods, but even with doing all that additional, we're still hearing from people saying, well, why did you do those 5 but not mine? Why did you do that one but not mine? So this is something that this year we're probably going to need to be a little bit more firm with people and say, hey, look, this is what we included in the contract. We'll add you to the list for future projects unless you want to handle it yourself. And then lastly, one of the things that made this project difficult was, yeah, we had over 300 properties, close to 360, but that was really only about 3 to 4 weeks worth of concrete work. The bulk of the time frame for this project was the tree removal. The cost came in the concrete work, but it was really only 3 to 4 weeks. And on a construction project, you tally the quantities on a monthly basis. So by the time we realized that the quantities were starting to get to where they were, was right around the time that we had already pulled out all the concrete that we were pulling out. So it made it even more difficult to, as you're going 300 properties, it's going to be a little bit easier this year because we only have between 30 and 50 since there's $100,000. But that's something that communication, we're tidying up that communication on how the contractor, the inspector, the resident, and then the engineer are all going to talk to each other on a regular basis and make sure that the spreadsheet, which will be simpler, is updated on a more regular basis than in the past. So those are the big things. I hope I addressed Ms. Johnson's questions about why it was so high. If there's any other questions that anybody would like, I'd be more than, I'll answer them.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Klein. Questions, comments, Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Waddington.
I'm happy with how this all worked out. It was a safety issue. I think Mr. Brady went out to several of the homes with me early on. We looked at the sidewalks, and I know it was hopscotch. We covered most of the community, and there was some travel time involved there, but I'm glad we got that resolved. So I'm fine with how this all worked out. They had no problem for my employees. A lot of people, because you get a couple people injured or tripped, we have to be responsible for the roads and sidewalks also.
Additional questions additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Cool.
I'm thinking this through. I don't have any problem with it. You had issues, you didn't have much turnaround time. I'm more interested in going forward in terms of making sure that we're getting the most for our money. And I'm not an engineer, but I do need to get this out of my head. It sounds like we went through and picked pieces of sidewalk in different locations and then added to it. Going forward, does it make sense, or is it your plan that perhaps we will identify all of those extra properties, and so that we're pouring more concrete and longer lengths on the front end? I would think it's cheaper that you order concrete and pour it in the same block rather than doing a little bit here and a little bit there. Is that where we're going with this or not?
Through Mr. President, it's definitely more cost effective to do concrete all in one neighborhood.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. Right now, the program is complaint driven. We have probably a backlog of about 3 to 4 years worth of sidewalks on our list. And we're trying to handle the ones that we get the complaints first rather than the ones that we've noticed, that we've addressed. I can adjust that we can definitely do that. Now, the other thing that's driving it is the ADA committee. This year we're proposing to do several of the ADA complaints, and those are in the downtown area. So we'd like to get some of those in the downtown addressed and then get the rest of the money out into the neighborhoods and make sure that we're addressing the complaints throughout the city. So that cost of scale is definitely better if you go into a neighborhood, but I think that cost of scale is really only revealed if you do full stretches of concrete, because even in that neighborhood, if you're doing patches and just slabs here and there, there's still, I don't think the economy is really there for that scale.
Mr. Chairman, may I suggest then that from what he's told me, it sounds like we should be evaluating our process. If we're gonna do, let's say, 2,000 linear feet of sidewalk, does it make sense to piecemeal it around town or to not identify a neighborhood that we upgrade and then move from neighborhood to neighborhood? No matter how you do this, you're only gonna service so many pieces of sidewalk a year. I would think that we don't gain anything by doing a sidewalk on Shelby Street and a sidewalk on Finch Street and so forth and so on. That does not upgrade the overall experience for our citizens. It has someone who called a lot, who had time to make a lot of phone calls and complain about it. I would suggest that we review and allow Mr. Klein perhaps to give us a recommendation. But I'm picturing that perhaps planning should be identifying sections of this town and neighborhoods that we go through and do as much as our money will give us. Because if those sidewalks needed to be done, I'm assuming the people that came out and complained, that you didn't just do it because they complained, that you said, hey, you're right, this needs to be done. So if it needed to be done, let's be smart about it, because you're certainly not helping me on East Oldgate by doing two sidewalks in front of my house, and then the entire area, and at a high cost. That's money we don't get to spend on other areas of the city when you're paying too much to do my little patch. So I appreciate it. Whatever anybody else thinks, perhaps we need to reevaluate the program.
Mr.
Are you
Chairman.
done?
I'm done. My 2 times are up too.
No, that's all right.
Mr. Lockhart, you submit
It's
motion.
fine.
Okay. I'd like to thank Mr. Klein for looking out for the ADA committee's concerns, certainly. Being the liaison of the ADA committee, I get to listen to some of their concerns on a regular basis or semi-regular basis. And as most of us drive around in this room as our main method of transportation, or motorcycle, or whatever it is that you drive, most people that are disabled or elderly use the sidewalk as their way to get around. And so we do need to be conscious of making sure that the sidewalks are okay, especially downtown. And one of the main complaints from the ADA committee has been that, it's difficult to get around, or maybe you're almost falling out of a wheelchair if you're using it downtown. So that's certainly something we should address. As far as the plan that we do this, I believe we have a GIS system that we're integrating, which will allow us to better know all things in the city, especially with projects like doing the concrete. So that may be a thought as to when the GIS system gets to be available to the engineering department, that we can probably utilize that in the future as a way of figuring out which areas to best do, or how we make a plan of that. But certainly right now, addressing the complaints of the ADA and some of the other ones, I really like to thank you for doing that.
Ms. Lloyd.
I just wanted to say a new program is always a good idea in theory, but there might be some bumps in the road or the sidewalk in this case. But it sounds like you have a good plan for this year, and maybe a good combination of what Commissioner Poole's saying is, if we could combine some of those complaints, even if they're backlogged 3 years, maybe combine some of them and do a little bit of what we're piecemealing and longer sections. But I will tell you that I've gotten a lot of compliments on the program, and people are very happy. And from joining Commissioner Waddington at Coffee with Commissioners, it's something that comes up a lot. So it's something we need to continue to do.
Further questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Grady.
I guess I'd like to point out that we did, as we always do, required per unit prices and per unit cost. So we don't have a cost issue here. What we have is a quantity issue, and the quantities that we provided in the document were understated. So I don't think that the neighborhoods suffered in this. The neighborhoods gained value because each one of these dollars equate to square footage or lineal footage or yardage of mulching or of concrete or of taking trees down. And as painful as it is to have a project run over $100,000 over, there still is value here. And if we're going to provide value, it darn well better be in the neighborhoods. I'm going to be okay with that. And I can look at the square footage that we estimated in the original bid was 25,704, and we put in almost 40,000 square feet. That's a value to the neighborhood. I guarantee you that the people at 1225 Waverly Road, where the sidewalk was 8 inches out of the ground, are pleased with this process. And I think a lot of others are also.
I would just like to add to that, you know, we set aside $500,000 for this. The engineer's estimate was the original work. The much smaller amount of work that we were anticipating doing was $481,000. The much larger amount of work that we actually did came in at $471,000. So we were still underneath the original estimate. So, you know, this is a very, we got a lot of bang for the competitive process dollars, if you will. And I just want to say thank you, because you did exactly what we wanted you to do. We wanted you to go out there and address citizen complaints and concerns about sidewalks. And you actually did a little bit more than we'd asked for, but I understand the nature of the process and how there's a learning curve that goes along with this. But we got all the money's worth for every dollar that was spent, so I'm satisfied. Additional questions or comments? Mr. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That ordinance is approved. Mr. Cresser, would you present number 6, please?
Item number 6 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to expend funds for the purchase and installation of a new roof for the wastewater treatment plant digester number 1 building from Durolast Roofing Incorporated of Saginaw, Michigan, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Twine?
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules in full accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Then a motion second. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Brady?
I believe that Mr. Klein can probably deal with items 6, 7, and 8, as they are almost identical and might speed things up a little bit for us.
Please, Mr. Klein, if you would.
Yes, sir. Through Mr. President, Commissioners, all three of these roof replacement projects are similar to, or going to be using a similar program to what we had used last year, or they completed earlier this year at the wastewater treatment plant, which is that TIPS program. It's similar to the state purchasing program. So the bidding's already done, those contracts are already signed. We just have to partake and move forward with it. We have 3 digesters that need roof replacements at this time. The spray foam roof from the past has been in bad shape because of the birds and the seagulls building nests and damaging it. So what we're going to be looking to do is replace it with a 50 mil membrane liner that is more resistant to the bird vandalism that we're seeing out there at this time. So,
Any questions or comments, Commissioners?
Any warrants were issued here?
No warrants issued. Unless there are questions or comments, Mrs. Cresser, would you poll the Commissioners on the motion in connection with item number 6, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 7, please.
Item number 7 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to expend funds for the purchase and installation of a new roof for the wastewater treatment plant digester number 2 building from Durolast Roofing Incorporated of Saginaw, Michigan, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Waddington?
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under suspension of the rules in full accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion. Mrs. Cresser, would you poll the Commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Mr. Crosser, would you present item number 8, the third in our trilogy of roof projects?
Yes, item 8 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to expend funds for the purchase and installation of a new roof for the wastewater treatment plant digester number 3 building from Durolast Roofing Incorporated of Saginaw, Michigan, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Lloyd?
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules and in full accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion, second. Discussion? Mrs. Crosser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 9, please.
Item number 9 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to expend funds for the purchase and application of crack and surface seal from Strasser Construction Incorporated of Columbus, Ohio, through the State of Ohio Department of Transportation Cooperative Purchasing Program for the 2017 Street Asphalt Sealing Program, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Lloyd?
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules and in full accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion, second. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Brady?
Mr. Klein, you've certainly hogged the agenda again tonight. I know that this is a program we tried to do last year and got 0 bids. You have found another way to skin this cat. Can you tell us how you've done that?
Fine.
Through Mr. President, this is a project that we did try to bid last year. We did it too late in the season, got no bidders. So we found this similar type of material with a contractor that we've dealt with over time in Strasser Construction that is actually on the state cooperative bid program. So we were able to just hire them, and we're going to be able to enter into an agreement. What this project is, it's not a full reconstruction or resurfacing. I don't know if, I'm sure you guys can't see that, but there are the 5 different categories from our pavement condition that we looked at previously. The second category down is a category that is just global preventative maintenance, and that's the category that this project addresses. What it allows us to do is it allows us to delay deterioration an additional 3 to 5 years. So by applying this sealer on the pavement, what we will get out of it is 3 to 5 years worth of life, and we'll get about 8,500 linear feet, or about 25,000 square feet of road improvements. And just, I think it would be important to name the roads. There's about 15 of them here, so if I could just name them in the block that they're on so that the residents can see from home. What we'll be doing is we'll be doing base repairs in-house if we have to, and then we'll be going through and crack sealing and then applying the sealer. And we picked roads that were very busy and some roads that were more residential to see which one we would get longer life out of and what's better applicable. So there's two blocks on Hayes between Taylor and Depot and Polk and Osborne. There are 3 blocks on Columbus going from Farwell to 42nd. West Madison has 2 blocks from Camp to Shelby and Lawrence to Central. Poplar has 2 blocks from Fulton to Monroe and Lawrence to Central. Fulton will be West Monroe to Poplar. Shelby has 3 blocks from Monroe to Jefferson and Adams to Washington. Adams has 3 blocks from Shelby to Camp, Shelby to McDonough, and McDonough to Lawrence. And then Huntington has 2 blocks from Wamajo to Roosevelt and Lakeshore to Wamajo. So that's those are all the streets that we're getting for just under $75,000.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Questions or comments, commissioners? I know I was disappointed last year when we weren't able to get a bid on that. We run out maybe a little bit late. I'm not sure, but this way that you have done it this year, which to take advantage of the cooperative purchasing program and getting the buying power of the state, is really a great way to do it. And to the point that was made earlier about the importance of maintaining the underpasses, this is cheaper, again, to maintain these roads and get more life out of the existing roads as opposed to rebuilding them. So I'm glad that we have the funds to be able to make this kind of proactive maintenance, because over time, it will bring everything up to a higher level for the same cost. So, thank you, Mr. Klein. Additional questions or comments? Mr. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 10, please.
Item number 10 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a contract with Ed Verdew and Company of Sandusky, Ohio for the Lincoln Street Water and Sewer Replacement Project, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Chairman,
Ms. Twine.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Mr. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 11, please.
Item 11 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a contract with Precision Paving Incorporated of Milan, Ohio for the Lions Park retrofit project, declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Lloyd.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules and in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Waddington.
thank you. It's been a long time coming. Long time.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Poole.
wasn't there a question about the location of equipment with regards to its distance, the changes that were made from the original plan? Didn't we get an email on that? Am I on the right project?
I think you are on the right project.
Okay. I just wonder what the answer was to that question in terms of placing the equipment, play equipment. So far,
Mr. Wobster, you're indicating
Through Commission President Murray to Commissioner Poole and Director Lincoln, I discussed this today, so he should please feel free to supplement or correct. The original plan for the Lions Park retrofit, or the Phase 2 of the master plan process, purposefully relocated the existing play set so that it would be on the same side of the drive for the park as the splash pad and the other amenities that would be attractive to children. So in order to address an issue that came up during the planning process was that oftentimes children were running back and forth across the drive from one to the other. So that's what led to the placement of the playground improvements, which are separate from the phase that Aaron has introduced tonight. We did look at the fact that there is a toddler play set immediately to the northwest of the shelter that will provide many children with a place to play. And ultimately, the recommendation at this time within the budget is to continue to move forward in replacing the play set near the splash pad where we think it is safer, to maintain the toddler play set near the shelter, and then to monitor over time to see if there is indeed a strong demand for an additional play set for older children near the shelter. Obviously, it's better that the younger play set is the one that's closest to the shelter so that folks can play, younger children can play while being supervised, and older children who might be more independent are able to play slightly further away from that. But Brad would like to take things on sort of a year-to-year basis, and then as budget allows, potentially place some type of play set near the shelter should there indeed be demand for it.
Mr. Whoops here. Additional questions or comments on the legislation?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Waddington.
I met with Mr. Link on this a couple times, and we discussed this, and I supported Brad. I told him, let's go ahead and do this, and same with Mr. Webster, so I'm fine with what we're doing.
Additional questions or comments?
Just one, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Poole.
Do we talk to any mothers? Families are gonna use this at all? I mean, I don't have an opinion one way or another. I hear several grown men making their decisions about things that I just question whether or not anyone else had anyone other than staff members who aren't taking kids out there anyway to get input. The original input was completely different when we discussed it with the community. And so that's my question. Who'd you guys talk to besides amongst yourselves?
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Twine.
I can appreciate Commissioner Poole's request of whether anybody spoke to mothers, but I don't think we need to leave out fathers either. I think parents and people, trying to watch their kids, I think this is a great resolution. You would want younger children to not be running back and forth across the parking lot, so.
I parsed my words. I didn't mean mothers literally. I'm talking about users of the park as opposed to the important people making decisions from above. That was my question.
Through the commission president to Commissioner Poole, is the parent of a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old child who often takes them to Lions Park. In fact, my oldest son was playing on the playset nearest the shelter less than a month ago. I know Director Link is also the parent of 2 young daughters in the city, and that both of us frequent several parks, including Lions, that not only do we take our own personal experiences as parents into account, but there have been public meetings at Lions Park as part of the comprehensive plan for the city. There were many meetings that have taken place over time, and so again, while we believe that it does make sense to place the playset nearer and not across the drive so as to minimize the potential for automobile conflicts with children. It is something that we can continue to monitor on a year-to-year basis and take feedback. And again, I know this came up with the Orlando Pace Park project. We do intend to, moving forward for all of our park master plans, to have public meetings at the beginning of those processes. Obviously, this Lions Park project has been ongoing for a while, but I don't think it was without public feedback, and I certainly think that Director Link and myself, as well as the others who are involved as parents of young children, as well as professionals, have really taken a lot of things into account and have done the best job, maybe not a perfect job, but the best job that we can based on the circumstances.
Additional questions or comments? Mr. Gresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 12, please.
Yes, item 12 is an ordinance declaring a 2000 Ford F-150 truck as unnecessary and unfit for city use pursuant to section 25 of the city charter, authorizing and directing the city manager to purchase a 2017 Chevrolet four-wheel drive Tahoe from Byers Auto of Grove City, Ohio, through the State of Ohio Department of Administrative Services Cooperative Purchasing Program for the Street Department, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Waddington.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under suspension of the rules in full accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion. Mr. Gresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine? Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 13A, please, Mrs. Gresser.
Yes, 13A is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to purchase a 2017 Ford F-550 cab and chassis truck from Valley Ford Truck of Cleveland, Ohio, through the State of Ohio Department of Administrative Services Cooperative Purchasing Program for the Horticultural Services Department, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Twine?
I move for the adoption of item number 13A under the suspension of the rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion, second. Discussion. Mr. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 13B, please.
Yes, this is an ordinance declaring a 2000 Dodge 3500 four-wheel drive dump truck as unnecessary and unfit for city use pursuant to Section 25 of the city charter, authorizing and directing the city manager to purchase a 2017 Ford F-450 four-wheel drive cab and chassis truck with a snowplow and dump body from Walt Sweeney Ford of Cincinnati, Ohio, through the State of Ohio Department of Administrative Services Cooperative Purchasing Program for the Street Department, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Lloyd?
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules and in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion, second. Discussion. Where are we at right now? Would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady? Yes. Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray? Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. I just want to make a note that I know the entire city is thankful for the opportunity to start to upgrade some of the really aging equipment that we had. Just 3 years ago, the equipment that we had on the streets was held together with baling wire and duct tape. And it was a bad situation, and we've slowly been making those investments and getting back to not a modern fleet, not a flashy fleet, but just one that's able to reliably do the jobs that we need to have them done on a day-to-day basis. And this isn't particularly glamorous stuff to be considering this legislation, but I'm very grateful for the voters' support that we can get here, because this is how we provide services to the residents of our community. And one other thing I would note is that last year, when the auditor of state did an audit of the city, the one area where we got dinged was on the age of our infrastructure, which was everything from buildings to equipment and everything in between. And again, we're making this reinvestment to bring us back to the point where we're able to reliably provide services. And that ding on the auditor's report was an important one, because it said, okay, we've got the finances in place to be able to do these things and the skills in place to do all these things that we need to do, but we don't have sufficiently updated equipment and other infrastructure to be able to make these, to continue to provide these services. So, again, it's important that we keep that in mind. Item number 14, please.
Item 14 is a resolution repealing resolution number 024-17R and declaring the necessity for the city of Sandusky, Ohio to proceed with the proposed Amtrak depot renovation and modernization project, approving the revised specification and estimate of cost thereof, and directing the city manager to advertise for and receive bids in relation thereto, and declaring that this resolution shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Lloyd?
I move for the adoption of this resolution under the suspension of the rules and in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just an explanation of what we're doing. What is this?
Ms. Byington, can you help us?
Thank you, Mr. President, through you. The city accepted bids in May for the construction portion of the Amtrak renovation project. The bid that we received exceeded the engineer's estimate by more than 10%, so the bid was rejected, and we're requesting to rebid it. As you recall, this is the renovation for the interior of the Amtrak. It's still proposed that 80% of the project will be paid with OTPPP funds, and that the 20% local share which includes $19,000 from foundations through Serving Our Seniors, would pay for this project. We are under a timeline with ODOT. We've had this grant for a while. So we're requesting Section 14 so we can expedite it, get this out, spend the money in a timely manner.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Further questions or comments? Mr. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd? Yes. Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
And now on the resolution?
Ms. Lloyd? Yes. Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That resolution is adopted. That's the last of our regular agenda items, so we turn the meeting over to Mr. Wipser for his manager's report.
Thank you very much, Commission President Murray, Commissioners, staff, and audience. I'll start with the donations this evening. First, a $20 donation to the K-9 Fund was received from one Tina Weedle. I'd also like to ask for a motion for a $100 donation to the K-9 Fund from the Erie County Home Builders Association.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and second. Discussion? Without objection, the motion be approved. And hearing no objection, the motion is approved with our thanks.
Thank you. A donation of $25 to the Sandusky Fighters Charity Fund was received from Cheryl Hendrickson. The Firefighters Charity Fund was received from Cheryl Hendrickson in memory of Captain Tony Bonner, who retired from the Sandusky Fire Department. I'd ask for a motion to accept that donation in honor of Captain Bonner.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion? Without objection, the motion will be approved. And hearing no objection, the motion is approved with our thanks.
Thank you. And then finally, you've already made a motion to approve this donation, but I'd just like to say thanks again to Rick and Megan Hography for their generous donation of $50,000 to the Jackson Street Pier project. Also, moving on to new and old business, the police department has extended conditional job offers to 2 candidates who are currently in the final phase of testing requirements. Once successfully completed, potential start dates of June 29th and 30th for the candidates is expected. Moving on to the fire department, starting June 12th, the Sandusky Fire Department will be delivering lunches to 5 parks: Huron, Central, Farwell, Foxborough, and Churchwell for the summer playground program. This will run through August 4th. Breakfast and lunch are provided by the CAC. Moving on to finance, there will be a public hearing at the Monday, June 26, 2017 City Commission meeting regarding the 2018 tax budget, which is required per the Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.30. Also, the next scheduled Finance Committee meeting is Friday, June 23rd, 2017, at 7:45 a.m. in the City Commission chambers. Moving on to the Department of Public Works, the city received a letter from the Erie County Health Department informing us that they will respond to all standing water complaints by treating potentially problematic mosquito areas with larvicide. Please call the Environmental Health Division at 419-626-5623. Again, please call the Environmental Health Division at 419-626-5623. Congratulations to the following new staff members. Michael Harris at Water Distribution is a Maintenance 2. Larry Kelch and Jacob Lavey at Sewer Maintenance is Maintenance 2. Jason Haynes and Brandon Dubert at the Wastewater Treatment Plant as Assistant Plant Operators. Also, just an update to the public that Commission President Murray recently had the chance to welcome Brigadier General Mark Toy, commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Great Lakes and River Division, and about 25 other people, including numerous legislative and congressional staffers and several state representatives from Ohio, EPA, and ODNR, as they stopped in Sandusky to look at the projects related to the ongoing Sandusky Bay Initiative. Also, the annual Consumer Confidence Report were mailed by the Big Island Waterworks. Please refer to the city's website for more information. Moving on to the Department of Community Development. The Ohio History Connection State Historic Preservation Office will be hosting a building doctor clinic on the 29th and 30th of this month. The seminar will discuss caring for older buildings, including ways to recognize and solve problems. It'll be at the Ohio Veterans Home Education Training Center, room AB, 3416 Columbus Ave, Sandusky. Stop by City Hall Planning Department for more information and register your building to have an on-site consultation. Also, the Community Development Department is currently waiting for the Department of Housing and Urban Development to provide the Community Development Block Grant budget for program year 2017. Once the budget has been set, the CDBG Annual Action Plan will be brought to City Commission for final approval. Also, the regular Planning Commission meeting will be held Wednesday, June 28th at 4:30 p.m. in the first floor conference room. there will be a public hearing for an amendment to the zoning code in regard to recreational vehicles at the Planning Commission. Also, the regular Board of Zoning Appeals meeting is scheduled for June 15th at 4:30 p.m. in the first floor conference room. Again, that's June 15th at 4:30 p.m. in the first floor conference room. Also, there will be a public workshop for the downtown Sandusky East Bay Vision on Thursday, June 22nd, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Sandusky State Theater. Again, a public workshop for the downtown Sandusky East Bay Vision on Thursday, June 22nd, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Sandusky State Theater. Also, we had two staff members go on between the lines on the register last week, Matt Lasko and Maria Muratori, to discuss our housing and economic development programs. And it was to rave reviews. I had a number of citizens reach out and thank them for that performance, as well as a few commissioners. And Dave, Commissioner Waddington, I should say, had the suggestion of reading some of the stats that were given on that in the manager's report tonight. So just to state that thus far in 2017, we have committed more than 90% of the $300,000 allocated for housing development and beautification. For substantial redevelopment, exterior repairs, and landscaping, we've committed approximately $170,000 in grant funds for projects costing $955,000 in aggregate, meaning that we've leveraged those funds 5.7 times for every dollar we've spent publicly. We've got nearly $6 privately spent. For the down payment assistance category, we've committed approximately $100,000 in grant funds. The down payment assistance grants were utilized for the purchase of 40 homes in the city of Sandusky by people who intend to own or occupy the homes. Approximately one half of those homes were previously vacant, and one half of the purchasers are relocating to Sandusky from outside the city. Additionally, 90% of the successful down payment assistance applicants were first-time home buyers. Obviously, those are very powerful stats as it relates to the housing market. It reinforces the goals of those programs, being that we want to attract new owners, we want to attract new residents, we want to fill vacant houses, and we want to help people achieve their dream of home ownership in Sandusky. And so ultimately, we want to thank the commission, and we'll continue to work hard. And we're hearing that feedback anecdotally from realtors that the housing market is strong and stable and growing stronger. So hopefully this will continue to tee that up. And we want the residents who are out there in the community thinking about making that move to know that the city's programs are there to help. And that, as Commissioner Brady often says, we're open for business, and that includes new residents to the city. Moving on to public services, work has been completed at Erie Blacktop Field at AmVets Park. If you haven't had a chance to go check it out there, it looks really cool. They painted the concession stand, and there's a nice asphalt feel to that with even a yellow striping around the concession stand. I think it looked pretty cool. We want to thank you to Erie Blacktop, as well as several other donors who made that project possible, and thank city employees for their hard work. In addition, Orlando Pace Park basketball court has been installed. We'll be removing our temporary driveway and adding bleachers, benches, and a bike rack to Orlando Pace Park. Finally, the greenhouse will be planting milkweed plants donated by Ontario School at the Cholera Cemetery. And then finally, in addition to the development department's BTL, there was also Market Street Studios, in which Jason Whirling and Victoria Kurt from the city's recreation department were interviewed by Matt Westerhold. And Matt reinforced in that interview, as well as a number of people that I've heard from the community, that the city's doing an incredible amount of new programs this year. People are seeing the new energy, and so ultimately I know that that's a position we added to the budget this year to supplement Victoria. Judging by the early reviews, it makes a lot of sense, and we're able to do a lot more for a lot more people, and people are noticing. So we thank the commission's leadership in improving that position that brought Mr. Whirling to assist Victoria with her many, many duties. That concludes my report for this evening.
I have mixed feelings on Mr. Whirling, but my wife has been getting me out things to participate in that peer pressure exercise program, and I enjoy it while I do it. But I am reminded of it through at least the following Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll get better with time, but it's the different coaches or exercise gurus or whatever we call them have their own different styles, and it's different each week. And I've enjoyed it. And there's a regular group. Dr. Sanders has been there last couple of weeks, and some friends and family members. We've had some friends and family members down there, and they're 40 or better some weeks down there, and it's a really great opportunity to hear from some great instructors, but also enjoy the Bayfront. So it's
Absolutely.
And I like to say to people, we're now not just getting back to where we were years ago. We're now getting above and beyond where we were. So that's a really cool thing. Mr. Waddington.
I'd like to thank Mr. Wupser. I keep different hours. I think most of you commissioners know. I might send you a text at 4 in the morning or 45, and you've always responded within 10 minutes. So I think we got the same sleeping pattern. But I think that's important, and keep up the good work. The other thing is a lot of residents. You got a lot of balls in the air, and if we get 8 or 9 out of 10, I'm thrilled because I come from 2011 when there wasn't too many balls. Mr. Brady was around me then. And to see all this happen now is really exciting. I really appreciate your time and your effort. Just want to let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional questions or comments for the city manager? Then we will turn now to old business. Anyone having any items of old business?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lockhart.
We had a nice meeting on Hancock Street. There's about 28 residents that showed up for the initiative to get Hancock in order. And we have a follow-up meeting coming up Thursday, June 22nd, so everybody's invited out to that. I know that a lot of the people that own businesses and some of the newer people that I've spoke to that have just acquired some of the buildings over there are interested in getting that together. From the pharmacy to the Magic Bakery, all up and down the corridor there. So June 22nd, we'll be doing that at St. Stephen's Church once again at 5 p.m. I think it's going to turn out really well for Hancock Street as it's one of the major corridors in the city. And I think it's going to improve the whole morale of everybody there. So.
Good. Any other items of old business?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Waddington.
I'd like to clean up, I looked at some of the applicants that I got from Clerk Cresser on the applications for the Planning Commission, and I'd like to make a recommendation or motion to appoint Connor Whalen to the Planning Commission.
There's been a motion and second. Discussion. Is this a voice vote or a roll call, Mrs. Cresser? It's a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying no.
Roll call.
Roll call. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Poole. Excuse me.
That's okay, that's fine. We just vote, you can vote. It's not a problem.
Okay. Ms. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
No.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
You gotta be quick because I'll get away with a voice vote every time I can. Speed things up. Other items of old business. Any items of new business?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Brady.
I would like to make a motion for one executive session this evening regarding purchase of real estate.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion? Mrs. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
If I have to, yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
That executive session is set. Any other items of new business?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lockhart.
On behalf of the ADA committee, looking at the gazebo in downtown Sandusky, we'd like to find out if it's possible to build a ramp or some other mechanism that makes it ADA accessible for any individual that would like to access our gazebo, and dedicate that to Dr. Lenz, who started out the ADA committee in the city of Sandusky. So I would assume that I'd make a motion and see if that's possible, and if it's possible, come back at a later date and have that done.
So the motion is an exploratory one to find out if it's feasible and or maybe a rough idea of the cost. Correct. So that's
Second.
The motion second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Other items of new business? If not, then we will turn to audience participation. Anyone wishing to address the commission on any items related to city business, please give us your name and address and share with us your thoughts.
Well, Sharon Johnson, 1139 Fifth Street. I would just like to comment on this liquor permit thing. What I read was the building was 60% in bad shape. If he's going to fix this up, I would think that you would make him fix it up before the permit is issued. This is going to be a public building when people are coming into the building. And I don't see where the state would override our codes and everything. That just doesn't make any sense to me. The second item here is, I want to comment on this $50,000 donation to the Jackson Street Pier. I think this is a gracious gift, but I think it's a little premature. We were told, the city's telling us that TIF is going to be responsible for picking up the expenses of this pier. So I'm not sure what the $50,000 is for. It has, the designs and construction hasn't been done yet. I would think the developer would wait until after that's done, because it takes on the perception that he's buying into some suggestions he wants to make on the pier, and other residents don't have the money to buy into influence. That's how I feel about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Anyone else wishing to address the commission?
Catherine Carter, 5309 Columbus Avenue. Excuse my glasses. I left the other ones in the car, and these are prescription. If I take them off, you all disappear.
Some people would say that's a good thing.
Okay, first I'd like to say congratulations on Ohio Bike Week. I happened to have the radio on about 4 Friday. 94.5 was signing off. I guess they were downtown. They had nothing but wonderful things to say for more than 5 minutes. They were thanking Sandusky for having, hosting it, the police department, the fire department, the county police, state patrol officers. They just kept saying how everything was flowing. Everything was flowing. Everything went together really nice. They congratulated the people that put this show on, assembled it. I think we're going to need another couple blocks next year, because there was a lot of bikes that couldn't even get close to town because they were parking down the side streets and stuff. I hope they can accommodate them next year. This is just getting bigger and bigger, and we hate to see it go somewhere else. I was visiting the visitor center, and I picked up this Ohio Festivals event 2017. It's got 76 festivals in it. There's only 3 in Erie County, none in Sandusky. The Riverfest is, Huron Riverfest isn't in here, Ohio Bike Week isn't in here, and Cruise in the Bay isn't in here. Those are important, and I think they should be added to this somehow. Everything else seems to go to other counties. Now, the map situation is another thing. I picked up this Erie County map. This is outdated, and it's a little goofy looking. It looks like it's got Griffin Airport on it still. So that needs to be taken care of. There was a realtor handing these out at an open house last year. This is outdated. The only date I could find on this is 1995. This one I picked up at the visitor center this year, last month, and it's outdated. It still has Griffin Park on it. It was updated 2010. This one is kind of silly. It looks like, now this one is from Ashtabula. This is a nice looking map. It looks presentable. It doesn't look like a cartoon. It's got a lot of information on it. This 2017 guide, I wish we could have these at the Visitors Bureau. This is really nice. It has a almost pretty good map in it. This map of the restaurants and the shops and stuff, except 3 important restaurants that are in Sandusky that have always been a good draw. Daly's, Grinders, and Damon's isn't on this map, which has kind of surprised me. But that's a really good map.
That one is by us.
And this is the parks and facilities. That's really a good one, too. Now, Mr. Waddington, I took you up on your challenge. He's like, what? I took you up on your challenge to go to Area 49. I didn't know where it was at, so I called Black Swamp. They didn't know where it was at. So she looked it up on her computer, and she said, did they call it something else? And I said, not that I know of. And she's humming away, and she said, would they have called it Big Island? And I said, somebody said something about an island, but I thought they were talking about Put-in Bay area. So she told me where it was at. I went down there on Wednesday after our meeting here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There was just one car down there, a couple guys fishing. I went back. I get to the T in the road, and I don't know anything about this area. There was no direction of, does it loop around? Does it go one direction, the other direction? Is it 1 mile, 3 miles? Is it just a little place? Is it a big place? I was there by myself. There was no one else around except 2 guys fishing, and I didn't have my mace. So I went back to the car, and I'll do it another time, but I'm glad I found it, but I couldn't figure out why I never knew about it. So I drove down, I drove down Cleveland Road and turned around at Casper and came back. And the signage at Quaker Steak and Lube says Cedar Point, boat ramp, and an arrow, and Ohio Coastal Trail. Nothing about Area 49. Then at the McDonald's, it says boat ramp, canoe launch with an arrow, and Ohio Coastal Trail. Then you get down there, and the sign says East Sandusky Bay Water Trail, location number 1, Pipe Creek Pathway. And then there's another sign that says, there's a round sign that says Big Island Canoe Launch, Big Island Preserve and Landing. I've heard it called the Ohio Lake Birding Trail 49. Pipe Creek State Wildlife Area, Pipe Creek Watershed. This place has a lot of names and no signage to get there. So I think if you could write down what it all is, because everybody knows it by different things, obviously. If you could write it down, hand it over to Sandusky High School, have them come up with a design. They can bring it in and okay it, and all those little round signs, put them along the bottom, so they're all in one place instead of on this pole and on this pole and over here and over there, and then have their school build it. They could get graded on that. And if you drilled the holes in the ground where you want it in the fall, and they can have it in there for May next year. They could put it in, the ground will be soft enough in April, and they can put it in. They could do this for you. I just saw in the paper today where they just did some of the City of Ohio, or City of Sandusky signs from the woodworking. I think that would be wonderful.
Can I share some of that? 75 or 80 of us found their way down there for the cleanup, didn't we, about a month ago? Do you remember that, Dennis? You and your wife were there. The other thing, it's one of the Ohio Blueways. It's amazing. If you go on, I could Google that right now. It's an Ohio Blueway as far as going in the Back Bay, and it's in the 10th year. We did that in 2007. We developed that area back there. With Marcy Capter was there. We had other state rep. Did I miss something? And it is bird number 49. That's just within the last 2 years for a bird stop, and they do stop there. I guarantee you that.
Oh, I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying that I didn't know where it was at, and by the time I got done, I had 4 or 5 different names for the place, and the Big Island thing, and I was just like, that's a little confusing.
They have a rowing club down there. Maybe I missed that. That big long building. There's a rowing club down there too. That's active, correct? That they row.
Yeah, I take Mrs. Carter's meaning, though. They're
The signage, yeah.
Yeah, we could have some more consistent naming, and with time, I think that's a good observation.
Yeah, and the signing off, because I've been going to McGee Marsh since they've been doing this, and I didn't know about Big Island Trail, and I went to McGee Marsh and I got a book that has all the trails in it. It's not a pocket-sized book, it's a big book, so I was bigger than I was thinking, and they called it another thing in that book, so I just thought a nice big sign out in front and some signage off of Cleveland Road to get back to it would be helpful. It's just my thought.
And the back pathway you were talking about, that's the cells. That had to be developed. That was a trade-off from Jackson Wolf when they built up there where Fridays is now. That was part of the trade-off, correct, Mr.?
Mr. Chairman,
Brady.
I'm in favor of that.
Yeah.
Signage.
Yeah. Good.
That was easy. But I thought if you guys could decide on what, the big name, and then as it goes down, and then give it to the kids, let them grade it on it, and then all those individual signs could be right along the bottom, it'd be easier to find. Now, the woman I was talking to in Elyria that was saying that there was nothing to do up here, I'm taking this booklet to her, to give it to her, but she also complained that she likes to eat outside. People should know that people want to eat outside So I went from Bayview to Vermillion, and I wrote down all the names of the restaurants that I think you could eat outside and get the view of the lake or the river or something. And totally, I came up with 20 of them. I'm not sure about some of them. And 14 of them are in Sandusky. So I'm going to give her that list too, because I don't think she comes up here enough. And I'm going to give her my Sandusky Fun Guide so that she'll know where to go when she's coming up here. That's all I had to say. I just thought the signage could be a little bit more clear because I couldn't find it.
Point well taken. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else present wishing to address the commission?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Poole.
Just speaking of maps and being updated, I was at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum last week. Pleased to announce that Griffin Airport is still listed as a operating airport. I dropped a note at the White House before I left Washington.
They don't read there anymore, I understand. So we will take a recess as long as the number of games left for the Cavs to win. 3 minutes.